Let everybody get in here. No, we'll trying to figure out how to share the link to some of my other um, social media platforms. So I have to research that while I'm not live streaming. Hey, T-Boy, how goes it? Can't see anything, any posts about this, though, that don't have somebody saying, there's no way that's him. There's no way he could have made that shot. Um, I could probably come up with 20 kids way younger than him within 50 miles of me that could make that shot repeatedly. The I don't know where you got that rifle though. That rifle was not taken care of. And let's say Wayne, let's say that you're an individual that has access to granddad's rifle or one you found leaning up against a tree or whatever, however you got the Mauser, because it's not a stainless steel barrel, but the barrel seemed awful shiny. And then you look at the bolt real close, and the bolt was red. That's rust. And if you look at it closely, I mean, there's signs of rust all over. Like, I mean, somebody had sanded the barrel down. Maybe he was intending on camo, and I don't know. That's a older scope. Um, I've actually got the same basic scope in the house right now. It's not on the Mauser. Um, but with a few minor adjustments and stuff, 300 or 400 yards isn't out of the question. Because, like, literally at 150 yards, the deer look like they're standing on the hood of your damn truck. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure they got the right guy. I hardly ever have to shoot over at 100 yards when I go deer hunting. But I've practiced as far as 200 yards. Um, the first time I went to Sonora, because I did never hunted down there before, I actually had my rifle sighted in at 225 yards because I didn't know how far we were going to be shooting. And when we got there and stuff, they were like, okay, if y'all want to make sure your rifle's sighted in, everything's going to be, they told us it's going to be between 75 and 100 yards. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I already did that. So I took 2 shots, aimed at the little black dot, took 2 shots. Both rounds went about an half an inch left of center, but between 7.5 and 8 inches high. I mean, boom, boom, both. I mean, it would have been a tight squeeze, but you could have got both hits on a quarter. And the guy's like, well, are you going to adjust? And I said, no, I've got it sighted in this way of something else, which I'm really glad I did. The audit did not come in that close. Anyway, I just windaged it. Anybody that shoots all the time, that depending on your caliber, 270 with the ammunition I was shooting, it's an 8-inch drop from 200 to 100 yards. So all I had to do is aim 8 inches high. That's all I had to do. And anybody that shoots all the time knows stuff like that. They know specific things about their rifle. If this guy had got on Google Earth, and if they've got anything like we have here, there's applications out there where you can go in and you can measure point A to point B on the interwebs. You don't ever have to leave your house. So, and then you zero. I think the problem was he was zeroed at 100, and then the shot was a little longer. I think he was aiming at his face, and he shot him in the neck instead. So it wasn't that good a shot. He actually missed what he was aiming at, technically. Depending on what you're shooting, the 30-30 is a lot more than that. So, let me see. So just drops 3 to 4 inches at 200 yards on a 300-yard zero or a 100-yard zero. That's 30-06. So, But anyways, the thing is, everybody's saying that the kid couldn't have made the shot. Up until a few years ago, he was like a normal kid apparently. Up until he left and went to school, got out on his own for a little bit. until he was like 17, 18. He was like normal. And I was able to kind of follow all the family tree on Facebook. And there's more than one outdoorsman in the bunch. So chances are pretty good he knew how to shoot. So AC 103, Chipper. That's what I understand. Wayne, why don't you think that Mauser was it? There's none of the video that shows that gets in close enough with enough detail or anything for you to see the rifle. That Mauser that they showed in the deal. I mean, I don't know if I'd want to try it with that one because it's in pretty bad shape. But those things, you could take those things elk hunting. I mean, you could make 400, 500, 600-yard shots with them things. I mean, if it's me personally, I would have gone for center of mass, whatever. And I know it sounds like I'm being pretty callous and stuff. I've let myself mourn, and now I'm just tired of listening to all the BS out there, the magic ring switch and stuff like that. You captured the frame off of a digital image that was downloaded, uploaded, and transmitted. It's a transitional frame. Shut up. There's all these guys out there just looking and looking and looking, kind of do anything but redirect it from the fact that the mainstream media, the far left politicians, and the lazy, non-committal, non-defensive, moderate Democrats who won't shut their co-people up, the Libertarian Party, which sides with the Democratic Party, have all built up so much anger and angst and fear in young people who are trying to figure out who they are and what they want to be, that now they think it's necessary to shoot anybody that doesn't go with the narrative. Charlie never spoke to anybody, not derogatorily. He might have raised his eyebrows and looked at you like, "Are you sure?" A couple of times when guys were arguing instead of debating. But he never once told somebody to go against their people or what they personally believed. He just wanted to make sure that they understood what they personally believed and what he believed. Does it? He didn't spew hate. He never said a hateful thing about anybody. So it was just wrong. That's not how he did his business. Now I think that's possible. Have y'all seen the goofy folk individual that turned around. Even when he was hunched over, he kept looking up towards where the shooter was. And then he kind of celebrated and gave him a thumbs up or stuff from the direction of the shooter. And that's a little bit odd. And even what they were, the last thing I saw, there was communication between the shooter and somebody else about trying to help him recover the firearm. So, I think he told somebody in his family that he thought was going to be on his side. And then that part, I don't think he told his dad straight to his face. I think it got back around to his dad. And Dad did the right thing as far as I'm concerned. I found a still of it on New York Post, maybe. They got a pretty decent picture. You can't zoom in on the picture, but you can. I did my page zoom to 200, so the picture got pretty big. It's a little blurry, but you can still see that this is rust. The barrel had been sanded down. The optics were, old, but they were good. They didn't look like it was all beat up. I don't understand why he wouldn't have had a vehicle to I don't understand. And me and my wife, I confess, me and my wife were like, they found a rifle off of it. And why would somebody wrap it in a towel and blah, blah, blah? Especially wrapping it in a white towel and throwing it in the bushes. You got to realize that's not a anywhere close to a new rifle. It's not a new M whatever. That's what they're saying. It was an imported, an older model imported Mauser. So it's from a foreign maker, and there'll be more come out on it or whatever. And I don't know, that's that Savage in there. I think it's a Savage. The scope mount isn't dissimilar. Some of the older rifles that weren't designed to have a scope, you had to have them converted. So they would have had to lose the rear V sight, and then they would have taken the front sight off, which isn't that hard to do, depending on how it's in there. Yeah, but he asked a question about, well, gun violence and stuff, but um, all of the questions were going to be like that. I mean, I believe in uh, coincidences to a degree. Um, you know, if they catch anybody giving hand signals or whatever, but and he actually shifted just a little bit as he was answering the question, which would have forced the guy to correct his aim a little bit. But the whole thing is people saying that there's no way that kid could have made it because he's 22 years old and he wasn't in the Army. That's stupid. Um, the None of the kids that won the nationals were Army vets. They were all kids. They just liked shooting and learned to shoot. Um, my son, who's now incarcerated for being stupid, uh, could pop prairie dogs with a 22 with iron sights at 100 to 150 yards all freaking day long. So saying that, and that's when he was 12 and 13 years old. So you can't tell me that somebody who spent 3 or 4 months practicing with a rifle can't make. Uh, I think the official number is 180 meters, which whatever, put that into American, what is that? Right at 150, 145 yards, something like that. Um, anyway, if you were zeroed at 100 yards, that's in the money. You'd only been hitting uh, what, maybe an inch or so low, inch and a half, depending. And that's the only thing I miss is that there's not any long range. Well, there's one, but the prison took it over. We could go up to 300 yards. That was it. But yeah, 300 yards is a pretty decent shot. I mean, um, the longest range I've ever been on, like a laid out range or whatever, actually had a road that ran beside it so you could drive down to your targets. Um, the longest marked uh, distance was 1,000 yards. Yeah, I didn't ever try to shoot that. No, not then, not when I was out there. But we were plinking around with, I think we shot at 100 for a little bit. And then, I think we moved out to 200 and shot for a little bit. And then when we started acting like we were getting a little drunk at 300, we decided to go home. So, which we hadn't drank that much, but I think 3 beers into high altitude's plenty. You need to put the guns up. That's true, but if you know you're going to, and I'm sorry, sportsmen, we still do 100 yards. We practice shooting at 100 yards every chance we get. Uh, my neighbor, I love my neighbor. I need to let him know I'm gonna go over there and borrow it. He has a range set up to 150. Um, I can, if I look just right through the trees, I can see the back Durham. Um, but he's got, oh, what he's got one thing out there that's when he pulls the trigger on it, it rattles. It dusts my roof. It shakes the shingles. I don't know what it is. I think he said it was his son-in-law's sons or son-in-laws or whatever. He said it was. He said he didn't see any reason for the rifle, but some kind of elephant gun or something. Yeah, I watched some. Supposed to be serious operators come in and they were like, "Hey, you mind if we use the range to warm up a little bit before we go do blah blah blah?" And they're shooting at targets at 5 and 10 yards with an AR. And I'm like, what are you doing, man? You mean you wanted to go out there and blast a bunch of rounds and stuff? And me and the other guy were kind of we stepped back and let them have the range so they could do their thing or whatever. And we're like, well, I guess we were doing it wrong. And they're like, excuse us? I said, yeah, we were putting them way back there at 40 yards and shooting at them. And we were shooting with a pistol. But, I mean, we weren't hitting shit. We were getting close. We were shooting at clays, little clay pigeons. Now, I have to admit that at 20 yards, a kid was tearing it up. Um, he's hitting 7 out of 8 with that 45 head. And then the little shit took my Beretta and outshot me with my own Beretta. So, yeah, I was done. I don't want to play anymore. Excuse me. You got, I mean, what part of Utah are they in? Or did he live in? Did he live in the mountain part of Utah? Or the flat plains of Utah where you can literally see your horse running away until the sun goes down? I mean, Utah has, you know, your when you show up and you pull the level out of your toolbox and the level jumps down and runs away whining and stuff because he's not really needed. Utah's got some flat. They don't really have that many places to raise row crops either. So not most places. Hell, don't they have a giant place out there that's nothing but flat chunk of salt? I mean, there's lots of places in Utah to go shooting. Hey, Steve. But it bothers me that everybody out there's no way that kid could have made it. Why? What disqualifies? Oh, because he's skinny? Because he's gay? Maybe. I don't even know if that's true. His orientation. I think he just left his home, got around where he could no longer be himself. And in order to survive, he started agreeing with stuff he didn't really agree with. That's all. That's my only hope. Honestly, my biggest concern is that he's going to end up dead and in hell. And I'm sorry. People are saying, "Oh, I hope he gets a death penalty and goes to hell." That would not be what Charlie wanted for him. So how can we want that for him? Charlie's greatest hope would be to meet his murderer in heaven one day and embrace him as a brother. That would be Charlie's hope. But on the other side of that is people really need to start watching the rooftops. The end. It's not a hard shot to make. I mean, it's, let's see. I believe the official distance is it 100, wasn't it 180 meters? Oh, well, I was going the wrong damn direction. That's 200 yards. Wow. 196.85. Still doable. Saying that the kid didn't make the shot because you couldn't make the shot, that's just, I don't want to sound like judgmental or offend anybody's little tender feelings or anything like that, but saying that the kid couldn't make the shot because you can't make the shot kind of sounds like you're being a pussy about it. You know, I know guys out there that can make beer. Just because I can't make beer to save my ass doesn't mean that they can't make beer. Dan makes really good beer, actually. Better than any store-bought stuff I've ever tasted, including several microbreweries. Yeah, I think he had it. And there, like I said, there something I watched. They were talking about when I was reading. It said that they had communiques where the the Tyler kid was talking to somebody else about watching this place about trying to recover the rifle. He was communicating with somebody about trying to get the rifle back. I just don't think he wanted to be seen running into the neighborhood or walking into the neighborhood carrying a long gun. Um, and which means that that rifle is probably going to circle back around to what was going to circle back around to him anyway, somehow or another. Uh, yeah, the only after you get the a zeroed scope, a zeroed rifle, and a few boxes of ammunition, all you have to do is do it downrange. You're not going to go in there with a cold barrel and no idea where the trigger fall is and do that. That's why I have such a hard time with one of the reasons I have a hard time with that AR is I have still have yet to figure out where the hammer fall is. I mean, I'm pulling the trigger, pulling the trigger, pulling the trigger. Uh, at least the Nagant I had that I sold, I redid the trigger on it, and I knew where the trigger was going to fall on it. It still kicked like a maniac, but I couldn't get optics on it, and I'm blind now. I mean, I don't know if I could make that a 200-yard shot now. I'd really like to know something about the gun. Was it a 15-pound pull, an 8-pound pull, a 3-pound pull? What was the trigger? You know, was it my Ruger? My Ruger is hard to shoot. I mean, it's got a heavy trigger on it. The 700 that I actually prefer, that's my brother's, that his son has, it's in the ounces. Well, I think it's a little over a pound. But you don't put your finger on the trigger until you're ready to shoot. Slide the safety off. You touch the trigger, and then when you're ready for the bullet to go down, you think about pulling the trigger, and it goes down there. It's awesome. Um, that gun is a nail driver every time. It's um, you'd probably miss with it if you'd never shot it before because you'd anticipate the trigger and you'd put too much pressure on it, and that'd be it. You'd pull the trigger before you're on target. But it's one of the old 700s before they made them change the trigger. So, and then I think my brother actually had another trigger, bought another trigger that was even easier to pull and put on there. Um, can't remember. I think he was talking about it. I don't know. I'm trying to think. I haven't done anything to that one or that one. I haven't done anything to the trigger on those 5 firearms. Um, 4. I've done a lot to that trigger. Done a little bit to the bolt too. Actually changed the flat firing pin to a round firing pin. That's a different story. Yeah, them's was your good ones. Yeah, it's uh, damn near 8 pounds on that Ruger. Fucking hate it. Um, I know why they did it because it makes the gun safer. But I would just freaking carry it with a safety on. Um, even in the gun world, I mean, let the stupid ones die. And then, um, yeah, I don't use iron sights anymore. Well, I do on the pistols. Um, I had a laser for my Beretta, but I never could figure out how to make the damn thing come on. I think I might get a laser for um, this other one, but that's all it's going to be. No flashlight, no strobing, no nothing. Just a laser. How many of you people actually believe the kid that not? I mean, putting aside that he had help or whatever, that he could have made the shot. There's you would have to prove to me that there was something. He was cross-eyed and he didn't have any trigger fingers. Had nerve damage in his left testicle or something. You're gonna have to come up with something other than the fact that he hadn't been in the military and he wasn't 50 years old. As an argument for he didn't do it. Hey, Walter. Now, I'm not going to say that he was aiming at the man's neck. You know, probably his mouth. Maybe his face. I don't know. Wasn't there. Didn't do it. But not saying it was a perfect shot. I'm just saying if I can hit a coyote at 150 yards on a trot with a Model 60 22, I'm pretty sure a guy in prone, and I was standing up. I just, probably a lucky shot. Not really. The coyote was out in the open. So, anyway, it's just annoys me when people look for anything, and they just try to make so much out of so little. He was a sick, disturbed individual that had been led astray by people that are literally getting other people to hate people just so they can make money. The end. Here we are. Yeah. I've got mine out there on the internet for y'all to see. It's me trying to hit an egg at 200 yards with iron sights. Freaking took me 36 tries or some shit like that. 32, 34, something like that. Zinging all around it. But that was the challenge. That was that shoot an egg thing. And it was $1 for every time you missed. And then you had the guys going in there and spending 2 hours getting their rifle warmed up and getting zeroed in and all that stuff so they could do the shot where they made it on one shot. Askments, the whole idea was you're supposed to miss a few times. You weren't trying to prove that you're a better shot than everybody. You were supposed to be a fun way to give to the charity. That's what I felt like when I was trying to shoot that 4x4 at the 4 foot by 4 foot piece of plywood at 1,000 yards with that freaking Nagant. It was like I was lobbing artillery shells. Come to find out, I was like shooting my point of aim was something like 39 foot above the center of that board. If that bullet had been traveling at the speed of light, it would have gone into orbit. So bullheads. I like watching that Air Arms South Africa dude. He showed the slow motion shots, and you can see the slug going off and then up and turning in, and then blam right in the freaking brain. 100 that 12-year-old kid on there, 260, whatever the hell rifle that kid's got. Anyway, he let the kid take a shot, and at 140 meters, he blew the head off of a nussie, which is about the size of a rabbit. I mean, he bullseyed that sucker, removed the head. So saying a guy can't shoot because he's not a vet, that's just. And there's a lot of guys that shoot distance that don't talk about it. They don't do it to talk about it. They do it because that's what they enjoy. They go home. I doubt if anybody knew just exactly how much ammunition my brother sent down range. He would literally spend the week and then every day, and then one weekend reloading, and then the next weekend he would go out there and he would make empty brass. He loved that crap, and he didn't brag about it. He didn't post it all over the place. He didn't, just what he did. And I know for a fact that guy shot at 250 yards every chance he got. He was looking for the perfect reload for taking 200-yard shots. He was also an asshole, a funny asshole, but asshole. I asked him if I could borrow one of his rifles to go deer hunting. And I know I've told this story, but I'm gonna tell it until I get dead. I said, yeah. He said, just use these, and handed me some ammunition he's reloaded. These do you great at 100 yards. I said, oh, awesome. So I put the stuff in there and I pulled the trigger, and he's got the damn things loaded with black powder. Made a plume of fire 6 miles long. Well, about 6 feet, I guess. Only thing I can figure is he had that casing just packed full. And cloud of smoke about the size of a school bus. And no, I didn't get the deer. But I miss that, man. Anyways, yeah. We'll just have to wait and figure. We'll have to wait for the mainstream media, which are perfectly reliable and dependable people, to tell us what happened. Because all of our conjecture, believe it or not, is coming from stuff we're getting from them. So honestly, we're just all conjecturing ourselves. Um, Charlie Kirk got shot. He didn't deserve it. Charlie Kirk is dead. His wife will be without a husband, and the children will go without their father. Um, because not because that young man, Tyler, shot him, but because CNN, MSN, MSNBC, would refuse to tell the truth about situations. Because politicians were up there screaming, bigot, fascist, racist, Nazis. Um, it was going to be somebody sooner than later. Um, it could have just been anybody but Charlie Kirk. I mean, he was one of the few Christian preacher types out there that didn't piss me off. So, oh, my daddy would have run him over with the ambulance. So, and that's the guy had his uniform off and a red flag up and was surrendering. Um, between win and win, they needed to die. My mom used to tell stories about. I never met him. Um, he died of a heart attack whenever it looked like we were going to go to war in Vietnam. So he fretted for about 2 weeks about it because his sons were coming up almost old enough. But anyway, he used to wake up screaming and hollering about stop killing the kids. And she got him to open up, and he was an ambulance driver in North Africa. And every time he would have to pick up wounded, there would be at least one child that they were putting in his ambulance. Because the Germans would just lob artillery into wherever. And So yeah, my dad didn't have use for Germans. Later, D-boy. Yeah, I got to get off here. That's an hour and 1 minute. Told myself I'd get on here for an hour. That's it. Um, yeah, yeah. The let's try to stick with the facts. Let's work off of truths. Unlike the other side of this, let's work off of facts and truth, stuff that we can prove. Okay. God bless. I'll still alive. Do not die.